Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning into our third and last Pathways Performance Inspiration Through Isolation virtual concert series. My name is Tong Liu. I'm a recent graduate from University of Utah with a master's degree in piano performance and pedagogy. I am one of the 3 panelists that have been working with the performers to moderate this concert series and their performances in various elementary schools in Utah throughout this past academic year. Before we begin, we'd like to thank Gina Bachauer International Piano Foundation, Mundi Project, Utah Music Teachers Association, and Dance Music for making this possible. During this difficult time of social distancing and isolation, we hope that many of you have had time to get inspired and be creative. There are so many ways to be creative that can give us a physical, emotional, and mental outlet and bring inspiration to ourselves and others. The purpose of this performance series is to give several young musicians the opportunity to share what has inspired them over the last few months in hopes that it will spark inspiration and creativity in those who are viewing this broadcast today. Our 2 performers today are Zhao, a graduate senior from Hillcrest High School, and Conrad Flake, a 9th grader entering Skyline High School. I'm going to turn this over to them to introduce themselves and their pieces that they're going to perform today.
Hi, so my name is Zhao, and I'm going to be attending Boston University in the fall. And the piece I'd like to play today for you guys is Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody No. 12 in C# minor. And this is a very special piece to me, and I'd first like to talk a little bit about Liszt. So as a composer, Liszt was very flashy and extravagant, and he took a lot of liberties with the score. And he was also very famous for his time, and he was almost considered a classical music rock star. And Liszt really pioneered the way that modern concert pianists today play. For example, in the concert hall, he would turn his side profile towards the audience, and that way they could see his features, whereas in the past he played to the back, towards the audience. And in total, Liszt composed a total of 19 Hungarian Rhapsodies, which are based on Hungarian folk themes that he heard from basically wandering gypsy bands. And these pieces have a very unique structure in that they're based on verbunkos, the Hungarian dance, and they consist of a fast and slow section, and these are known as Friska and Lisan, respectively. And I'd like to encourage you guys to listen for these sections in the piece while I play it. And to me, classical music is very important in my life just because it inspires a lot of creativity and thinking and just allows me to experience such a rich cultural history with the music. For example, during quarantine, when I was very sad or feeling lonely because I couldn't see my friends, I would turn to my piano and playing the works of Liszt or other composers to feel a little bit of relaxation and peace and happiness. And during the process of discovering an interpretation and learning the pieces in greater detail and depth was just immensely rewarding and inspiring. So classical music is something very close to my heart, and I really enjoy it, and I encourage you guys to explore it as well.
Hi, my name is Conrad Flake, and I'll be playing a piece by Nikolai Kapustin today. Kapustin was a Russian composer who was born in Moscow in 1937. He studied at the Moscow Conservatory, and he graduated in 1961. While he was there, he started learning about jazz compositions, and he also started working in a big band. After he graduated, he worked as a radio pianist and a movie theater pianist. Russia started to like jazz music in the 40s. However, in the 50s, when Kapustin was at the conservatory, the Russian officials actually banned jazz because it was thought of as a symbol of the West. However, once Kapustin graduated in the 60s, the Russian officials became more lenient towards jazz music. Kapustin attended a lot of jazz performances after he graduated, so he learned how to compose jazz music. He is really best known for his fusion of classical music and jazz music. The piece I'm playing today is part of a set of jazz-like etudes. There are 8 of them in the set, and I'll be playing the first one. It's a fast prelude to the other 7 in the set. Each etude is based on a different style of jazz. For example, the one I'm playing is based on improvisatory jazz, and the one that comes after the one I'm playing is based on blues. I really like this piece because it makes me feel happy, and the chords are really joyful. During the lockdown, whenever I was bored at home, I would start playing this piece and my mood would instantly get better. It sounds like everything is going great in his life when he wrote it, and it really sounds so happy, and it makes me happy too when I play it. This piece is really unique, and there's no other piece in classical music quite like it. The fusion of improvisational jazz and the classical music structure is something that no one else would write except for him. This piece is also really fast, which makes it sound even more improvisatory. So, I hope you enjoy the piece.
Thank you so much for doing the wonderful music to us today. There are a couple of questions that I want to ask you. The first one is Anna from Australia. He wants to know if playing music of a living composer is different than the composer's development.
So for me personally, the difference is not too big. However, there's definitely something that you have to know about playing a living versus an older composer. For example, living composers often have recordings or tapes or more manuscripts of how they want a piece to be played. So in terms of those, you have to be a lot more observant of what they want the piece to be performed as. And although you can take liberties, and people do make their own interpretation of the piece, you really have to be a lot more observant of the living composer's wishes. Whereas older composers such as Bach or Mozart, they often didn't leave as many markings on their manuscript, and thus that gave you more options to explore and potentially craft your own unique interpretation.
I agree with John. Like, there's much more direction, and it gives you more instructions on the living composer's pieces. But in the not living composer's pieces, it's a lot less instructions. And also, because the living composers often are able to record it yourself, you get to know what they thought of the piece that they wrote and what their own interpretation of it is. Whereas for like Bach, no one ever was able to record how Bach played his pieces. And also with living composers, it sounds more modern a lot of times. And also with living composers, it's easier to see the connection between modern music, such as rock and pop and things like that, and their music as well.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I guess it has different interpretations when it comes to modern composer pieces versus those who died a long time ago. Okay, so Todd from Bonfo wants to know, what is the longest piece that you have ever memorized?
Ooh, yeah, this brings back a lot of good memories. So for me, my longest piece ever, and also the most challenging I think I've ever played, was Tchaikovsky's First Piano Concerto. And this is a really famous piece, and it's also quite long, so I pinned the solo piano portion at around 18 to 19 minutes.
Wow, that's really long. Yeah.
For me, the longest piano piece in terms of time was Chopin's Polonaise Fantasy, and that was about 14 minutes. But in terms of actual music, the longest piece I've ever played was Chopin's Scherzo No. 2, and that one was over 700 measures.
Wow. So how long would you guys practice every day for those such big pieces?
Yeah, I still remember the long hours I spent in the practice room just working on and getting the double octaves. That's the main thing with Tchaikovsky. And I think in total, during the period leading up to my performance of the piece, I was probably spending around 3 to 4 hours a day on that piece alone, and additional time allocated for other work such as technique or other solo repertoire, but generally it was 5 to 6 hours a day.
Wow.
What about you, Conrad?
For me,
Yeah.
I think for the Scherzo and the Polonaise, because they were part of my collection of solo repertoires, I practiced all of them together, and altogether, if I were to do a very thorough practice, it'd be about 4 hours.
That's a lot of dedications to learn those long pieces. We have a question for Conrad from Luke in Layton. Why did you begin play the piano? What kept you going?
So when I was really little, I would like to hit the piano and listen to the sounds it made. And it really fascinated me. And I kept going ever since, knowing that as I progressed, I'd be able to play a lot more different things and play more fun things and also more challenging things. And the challenge excites me.
I'm so glad you kept going so you can bring us wonderful music. This is the last question for John. Can you explain what a Liszt recital would have been like? Were Liszt and Chopin friends?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a very interesting question, and this has got so much historical implications. So, first of all, Liszt and Chopin, they had a frenemy relationship. Like, whereas they respected each other's work and saw the artistic merit of the other, they were also rivals in terms of trying to get financial support and backing and playing for the nobles and rich people at the time. So in that sense, they were rivals, but also good friends. And I think if they were closer, they would have done a lot more collaboration in terms of large-scale concert work or even salon concerts, which they did at the homes of the noblemen. And I think this could look like potentially fusion works, where they would contribute their own interpretations and ideas into a single score. Or alternatively, they could do very fun, very flashy duets, I would think, similar to today's duets, maybe Anderson and Rowe, or other famous duets. And I think it would have contributed a lot more diversity in their shared pool of classical works, and I think it would be really interesting if that were the case.
Thank you so much for the answering. And thank you for both of you to bring us this wonderful music to us today. Thank you everybody so much for the support of Inspiration Through Isolation concert series. We hope that our young performers have inspired you to find strength during this difficult time, and thanks again for tuning in. See you.